Hannah, just tell us what happened on, I suppose, the fateful day when you got a golf ball in your eye.
I was actually out supporting and was just kind of halfway up the fairway in the trees on the left-hand side, and unfortunately someone pulled their shot towards the trees, and I kind of went to duck in the trees, and it ricocheted straight off a tree next to me. So I took it square in the eye, kind of split my eyebrow open, and then had a frontal bleed, but lucky enough no damage to the back of the eye, but mostly internal now, is the muscles were damaged that control the pupil, so my pupil doesn't really dilate properly now, so it's been a bit of a juggling act.
How long was it before you knew there was no damage and then you weren't going to have actually a sight loss?
It was really the 24 hours they weren't really sure, so we went to the hospital straight away, and initially they were like, oh, it's just a cut, and then as soon as they opened my eye it was just full of blood. So until they managed to get the bleeding under control at the front of the eye, they then couldn't really see anything else. So it was probably the first 24 hours were the first crucial bit. So I went initially and then had to go back the next day, had the CT scan, had all the eye scans, and that's when they said that you've been quite lucky, that it is just damage to the front and the back of the eye is okay.
How scary are 24 hours was that?
Very scary, yeah. So I just had to lay in a dark room, so no screen time, nothing, just in the hopes that it would settle down. But those first 24 hours, I thought it was probably career ending, Well, I've already had one of those. I'd ruptured my Achilles a few years ago, so I kind of had that a few years ago, so I knew the feeling of it, potentially being taken away again was not very fun.
But you came back and played even though your eyesight
so I got the
fully...
all clear, it was about 2.5 weeks later, the all clear to fly. So initially I couldn't fly for 2 weeks because of the pressure, so I had a real high pressure in the right hand side, obviously from the inflammation and the bleed. So for 7 days I just had to lay as flat as possible for as long as possible, obviously getting up to eat, go to the bathroom, things like that, but just lay in a dark room for 7 days, and that brought the pressure down nearly equal. So I had another week mostly rest, so not elevating heart rate or anything like that, and it brought it back down, and then I made the decision the following week to fly to the Dutch, but at that stage my pupil was basically the size of my eye. There was it didn't dilate at all. The muscle damage that controls the pupil they thought was quite severe, so I was left with mainly just a glare, so everything was quite foggy, and the main issue was following the ball and reading putts, because I'm right eye dominated, so I had to kind of adjust to that those first few tournaments back. Had a friend of mine caddy for me, so he was able to help me with a few reads on the green, but luckily enough the swing didn't really go too bad, so I hit it fairly straight anyway, so that was okay, but it just then took the time to adjust to the new normal.
So in terms of you saying unable to sort of read greens and things like that, I mean,
everything looked a bit different, obviously, because I couldn't see clearly out of my dominant eye, so it was like a haze almost, and then when it was sunny, so I got darker glasses, I just saw everything really bright, really white, so the pupil obviously dilates smaller when it's exposed to light, so it lets less light in. So it's kind of the equilibrium between light, whereas mine was just still being flooded with light because it didn't dilate. So everything was just bright white in my one side. I was kind of reading a lot of putts just covering my eye. If I was struggling, I spent most of my time just looking down to try and keep, because that was the other thing that came from it, was migraines. Because it was letting in so much light, I was affected quite a bit still by quite a few headaches.
So so in terms of your putting and, I don't know, maybe other parts of your game, but particularly your putting, was it kind of just done by feel then?
A lot more by feel, so just kind of taking in as much as possible, and then a lot more feel based, and it seemed to work, so I probably should have gone to that a long time ago.
Have you stuck with it then?
Because it's kind of become the new normal, because it's still not, it's never going to be the same. I've kind of just had to stick with that routine.
Wow. Okay, brilliant.